Hey all, Eskie here, bringing you some more Deadlock gameplay. So a short intro about who I am. I am a high MMR player. I've been playing since May, so I have a lot of experience with Deadlock. And a little bit intro about videos. So we're going to watch a replay, one of my replays, and we're going to focus on something in particular about this replay that's hopefully teachable and something you guys can learn from. So I think the title of the video maybe spoils it a little bit, and I don't want to do too many spoilers, but basically what we're gonna want to focus on in this game is, so we're gonna go through the laning phase. You're gonna see my team as a whole earn some advantage. So we'll be up in souls, we'll have some map control, and a lot of the lower MMR games that I see, when teams have this happen, they don't take advantage of getting that in the mid game. And so without spoiling too much, we'll just talk about what's going on now. And as we build into the game, as we, see things unfold, I'll talk more about, how do you take advantage of earning that early map control and that early soul advantage. So in the laning phase here, especially in a duo lane, what we really want to focus on here is, one, getting all of our farm, two, trying our best to deny their farm, and then three, in this order, three would be then harassing them. Another thing I see players do, especially low MMR players or new players do, is they focus too heavily on trying to harass their lane opponent, kind of trying to play it, maybe like it's Overwatch or a TDM, and that's really not what's going to get you that mid-game advantage. The number one thing that's going to get you the mid-game advantage is making sure you get every single creep in lane, that you farm it. And then once you've pushed, like we're doing here, once you've pushed up in lane, then sit behind your creeps, and as they try to CS them, you will have an advantage there to try to deny that CS. So one thing that's important to keep in mind in this game is pretty much everything is a projectile, excluding, I believe, Bebop's left click. And so because of that, there's a travel time there between when you click and when that bullet gets to your destination. So when you stand closer to the creeps, you have a slight advantage there when it comes to being able to hit that floating soul as it goes up. So one of the things you'll see a lot of high MMR players do is, once they've pushed their lane, they will go and stand either on the stairs. Sometimes you'll see Ray standing to the left here, but they'll basically go up, stand as close to the enemy tower as they can behind cover, and then they'll try to deny those last hits. So that is a huge thing that you should be doing if you find yourself pushing into the enemy turret. The other big point I want to make here as well, and why that is a viable strategy, is in the early game especially, minions do a lot of damage. And if you fight with minions, you have a natural advantage over your opponent. So that's why you always want to be standing in your minion line. Another thing I see newer players doing, maybe if they're not treating it like a TDM, then they're a little bit too scared to move up. They're standing really far back. They're not pushing into their minion wave. And the other big thing to note is that this game has very big damage fall off. So if you stand too far back, you're doing almost no damage to the creeps, to the players, anyone. So it's really important in the laning phase for you to stand in your minion wave. And if some of you have noticed already, there's a minion in particular that will heal you. I think it has a little flag above its head, if I'm not mistaken. But that's a great way to sustain yourself in lane. And as you get into higher tier games, you'll see that these players will start killing that minion first, because that minion can offer you a lot of sustain. Another point I want to make about that minion is it also heals your turret, and the heal has a cooldown. So another thing you might see higher MMR players doing is, when the minions are about to drop in the turret and go up into the lane, you'll see them standing next to their turret and waiting for that to heal them, and then going back into lane so that they can sustain. So one big point to make about how this laning phase has gone so far, if you guys have been watching, they're ahead right now because they just got the kill on me. Even though we had been dominating them at that point, for the most part, we've been constantly pushing into them, constantly doing damage to them. We were just never able to get a kill. I did use my zipline speed there to come back really fast. And if you notice, you get momentum off the zip, especially if you have the movement speed increase when you press F. So that is a way that you can surprise the enemy team, especially if they've pushed up to your tower or they're pushed far beyond their tower. If you are coming off the zip line and you have a lot of momentum, you can actually get behind them and potentially get a kill there. That's pretty much why I was able to get that lash kill, was because of the momentum coming off that zip line. So one thing I wanted to point out here about this laning phase and about duo laning phases is you really want to play with your duo. I know that that sounds obvious, but you would be surprised how many people can be scared or aren't willing to push up with their duo. And so just right there as an example, I saw the lash going in and we didn't get this kill. I was pretty mad about that. Like, that's a good example of bullet fall off right there. I was basically doing no damage to that dynamo. I think I hit 1 or 2 shots there, but because of damage fall off, I wasn't able to get that kill. What was I talking about? That's what I was talking about. Playing with your duo. So because I saw the lash go on to my Wraith there, I rotated over to help her out, and the dynamo was too slow to do that with his teammate. For whatever reason, maybe he was positioned, he didn't expect the lash to go in there. And so we were able to get that kill because the fight essentially turned into a 2v1. So I think it might be obvious to say, but duo lanes play differently than solo lanes. And one of the things you need to keep in mind... Ooh, good ult by that lash there. I was able to line of sight that, though. Ooh, he got a punch off there. Still got the kill, though. That was good. Oh, it looks like Warren came over, too. Okay, cool. So playing with your duo is the best way to win your lane. And so now we've gained an advantage. So if you look at the soul count right now, we just got the turret. That gives us a 5k soul lead. And that's actually a really big lead in early game. So Warden won his lane. He got his turret. We won our lane. We got our turret. And so now we're really transitioning to the mid game. So this is the point where you need to take advantage of the extra souls that you have, the extra things you get from taking those turrets. So what I want to be doing here is, yes, I want to still keep my farm up. So as I'm rotating throughout the map, I want to take jungle camps, but I also want to rotate to the other lanes that have turrets up so we can take those turrets so I can help push those lanes. So that's what I'm doing right here. So I'm going to put pressure on this Viscose because he's up here. I actually don't remember if we get this kill or not. Yeah, he just balls away. Viscose is so hard to gank because of that. Even, you know, with the Bebop hook and everything, he's just so hard to kill when he has ball. And actually, an important thing to note right now, on the current patch, they just patched, Viscose is extremely overpowered, in my opinion. So I died there. There was 4 of them. It looks like, I think they rotated over from yellow lane, and then Lash had come over from our lane as well. I think that was just poor positioning. Here, let's go look at someone that's actually not sitting on a death timer. So that was just kind of poor positioning from my part, not being aware of who's on the map and when and what is happening. So maybe if I had looked at my mini-map or been a bit more aware there, I wouldn't have died because I wasn't super far up in the lane, but I could still have moved back to my turret if I had say, hey, you know, I see 4 people missing. That's pretty risky. Let me move back. We had obviously just fought Viscose there, so his team was aware of that, and especially in higher MMR games. And as you progress, you're going to see that people are very good about rotating, very aware of the map. Ooh, let's go back to me. So just some important things to note here. We just saw Warden and Wraith over here, and they just got a Walker. That's going to press our advantage even more. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to pressing your advantage just as a team as a whole. So if you look right now, we're actually 11k up. So we were 5k up when we transitioned to mid game. We had those 2 turrets down, but my team is taking advantage of that. And basically what had happened there, and if I had to guess what Warden and Wraith said to themselves, was they see 4 people in yellow lane and pink lane was pushed up enough where they could push together and get that Walker. And they did for free. They didn't die. So that's a huge, huge trade for us. So that's one of the important things I want to note about mid game is you really need to be aware of the minimap. Yeah, I died there. That was just really bad positioning on my part. I took a weird angle coming in there. They were pushing the turret. My idea was, hey, like, let me go help this pocket defend the turret. But the angle that I took to get to that turret was really bad. They had 4 there. I got Dynamo ulted. There's not much I could do about that. So, except position better in the first place. So mid game, what you want to be, I think there's 2 important things that you should be focusing on. One is trying to get their objectives, and 2 is defending your objectives. And the third thing I would say is trying to farm in between doing those 2 things. So the farm that you want to prioritize, I'm not going to say obviously, but kind of obviously, should be lane farm, because if you don't farm that lane, the minions are just going to die to their minions and no one will get that farm. So as you're roaming around the map, you want to hit lane farm first, then you want to hit jungle farm, and you want to hit objectives. So we came over here, got the turret for free, and that's what you want to do with your lead in mid game. So they've actually cut our lead now down to just 6K. So we were up 11K at one point. And they've actually gotten a lot more turrets as well. So that we were up 4 turrets, I think at one point, or 3 turrets and a walker. But now they've taken 2 turrets and they're kind of, getting their way back into the game. So what we need to be doing here as a team is, as we see people on the map and see what's happening on the map. So like Warden just got ganked by 3 of them. So what I need to be doing right now, after I'm done farming this, I need to rotate to yellow and I need to push. And the reason for that is Urn is on that side of the map. I see on the minimap right now, I'm pretty confident I can see at least like 3 or 4 of them. So my idea here is, hey, Wraith and Haze are pushing their walker. They have Shiv occupied. I know that there's at least 4 of them in pink lane. So there's only the possibility of 1 potentially coming to defend me. So I need to push this walker and take some advantage for my team because they're losing in pink lane right now. So there's really no chance at this point for me to get to pink lane and change the tide of that fight. So instead of, going back to base and trying to reach the team fight, what I want to do is I want to take an objective. And that's what happens here, right? Is I see that that's happening on the map. I know that I'm not going to be able to get over there for that team fight. So I need to be doing something else productive on the map. Instead of just passively farming the jungle, I need to be pushing objectives. So I was able to get the walker there, then come back, buy my item, and now I can help defend the Guardians. And because I was able to come back and help defend these Guardians, we're able to get some kills here. And I think I remember what happens. I won't spoil it. But another thing I wanted to mention, I'm actually not 100% sure that I did this. I believe I had speed boost on my zip. And the speed boost on your zip line, it has a pretty long cooldown. And I would really encourage you guys to not waste it. So the times that you want to be using your speed zip is to really get somewhere on the map that you really want to go as quickly as possible. So I'm pretty sure I used my speed to speed down yellow lane, get into the shop, buy my item, and then be a part of that Guardian defense at our base. Thank God for that Bebop ulting the Dynamo as the Dynamo is ulting me. So that's what happens when you take an advantage in the mid game. And you win a fight like that, you're able to take mid-boss. And taking mid-boss, especially this early in the game, we're at like, 14 minutes basically. It's a huge, huge advantage. Your creeps are more powerful. Obviously, you have a shorter death timer. And you're able to push a lot more. And so you're basically, stacking your advantage at that point. You already had an advantage. You'd won fights. You'd taken walkers. But now you're pushing it even more. So you're constantly trying to take more and more objectives, fighting with your team. And for those who want me to touch on my Geist build here, It's pretty similar. This is actually post-patch. So I think one of the things I had said in my last Geist video is that I really like to rush Leech because of the healing reduction resist, which was present on Leech. But actually now, if you look at it, the healing reduction resist, they moved it to healing booster. So that's kind of changed up my build a bit. I don't feel the need to rush Leech as much. And a good point to make here is I'm not even going to get to Leech at this point. Maybe you guys have realized at this point, but we're able to use Rejuvenator here to push their base and basically in this game. So that's kind of what I mean by taking advantage of, you know, the advantage that you've won. Sorry, pushing your advantage, I should say. So we had that advantage mid-game. We took mid-boss off that. They've been kind of bad about staggering their death timers too. You know, obviously we've been catching them out, but they've staggered their death timers. We were able to take mid-boss off that Guardian fight and then push that all the way into their base and win the game. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it, especially if you watched all the way to the end. Please do all the YouTube algorithm stuff for me. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, you know, all that good stuff. I would also love if you guys are interested to give me suggestions for new videos. I'm always looking for new ideas. I already have some in the comments, which have been great. I have been thinking about doing live commentary as I play Deadlock versus replay commentary like I've done here. So if you guys would like to see that, let me know down in the comments. I think it's a little bit harder to do that in this game because there's just so much going on that you have to remember. But I'm definitely interested in at least attempting to do that, and hopefully the commentary as I play will be good. So once again, thank you guys for watching so much, and I will see you in the next one.